Hey everybody, Mark Agnesi here again in the back room of Norman's Rare Guitars. Welcome back to another episode of Guitar of the Day.
Woo!
Dude, been pulling out some major stuff this week. This is no exception. We have done one of these before, but it never gets old. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, we've been killing it on Flat Top Fridays. You guys are gonna really like this. This guitar is not gonna last very long.
Not long.
Awesome. Come on back, check this out. This is from 1938. This is an original Gibson Advanced Jumbo.
Ooh.
Pretty much the flat out best guitar that they ever made, per their own words.
Wow.
Original Sunburst finished, firestripe pickguard, arrowhead inlays. Oh God.
Wow, wow, wow.
Some of you are looking at that and say, hey, that looks like a J45. Yeah, it does, kind of. It's got a couple different things, but that's no J45, homie.
Yeah,
that's
homie.
a totally different animal. So let's talk about what was going on in the mid-1930s. Mid-1930s, Martin guitars was like hitting their stride, man. They had like perfected the design. That was as good as it ever got, kind of 1935 to about 1939, 1940-ish, right in that window there, making the greatest guitars that they ever made. The stuff that they go back and are doing reissues and authentics and all that stuff of now, that era of guitars. And most notably from that era are the Herringbone D28s, which we've done back in the early days of Guitar of the Day. I think we did a couple of Herringbone D28s. They're really special guitars. Absolutely phenomenal instruments. So, in the mid-1930s, Gibson engineers had to go back in and try and come up with a guitar that could compete with the Herringbone D28. One of the things Gibson never really did was a Rosewood back guitar. Now, we did that Rosewood SJ200, and occasionally during the banners, you'll see some Rosewood back and side guitars. Woody Guthrie had the Rosewood banner Southern Jumbo, you know, the This Machine Kills Fascists guitar. That was a Rosewood back SJ from, you know, the 40s. But when the 30s here, this was kind of their first Rosewood back guitar. And why Rosewood? Because that's what the Herringbone was. They needed a guitar to compete in the marketplace with the Herringbone D28. So now, the good news is we've done a lot of these guitars, so you can go back and look. Gibson was making, around 1934, they were making a guitar called the Jumbo, which was the first of the slope shoulder design. Predates the Advanced Jumbo, predates the J35 and the J55, the J45, the J50, the Southern Jumbo, the Country and Western. Predates all of it. That was the first of the slope shoulder design. Now, I believe that guitar was about $60 at the time. Mahogany, spruce, rosewood board and bridge. Once the Herringbone D28 was taken off, Gibson decided to get rid of the Jumbo and go in two different directions. So they came out with two new models. They started doing protos in 35. 36, I think, is the first year they show up in the catalog. They started to do the J35, and they started to do the Advanced Jumbo. So what the J35 was they kept the mahogany back design of the Jumbo, but they lessened a couple of the other features. The Jumbos, I think, were Sunburst on the back and sides, and some of they got rid of all of that. They just went to instead of an inlaid logo, they just went to a silk screen, whatever they could do to get the price down a little bit. I think those were like $40. And then they did the Advanced Jumbo, which would be the step up. This was like $80 or $85. I forget, it was somewhere in the 80s, back in the mid-1930s. A lot of money. But yeah, so you get your first of the Rosewood back. Now, there's a huge debate as to whether or not Gibson used Brazilian rosewood or some other type of rosewood on the back and sides of these. It's hard to tell, man. From what I understand and what I've read, Brazil was the only supplier of rosewood to Gibson, but the reason there's so much debate is the rosewood that Gibson had looks drastically different than the Brazilian rosewood that Martin was using for whatever. So it either came from different suppliers or different parts of the country or was milled differently or something. They don't quite look the same, but never can really say with any degree of accuracy whether these are Indian rosewood or Brazilian rosewood. I'm not that into wood. I like wood, but you know, as much as the next guy.
I like wood.
I'm not a treeologist or whatever the hell those people are called. So a couple other interesting things on these. First off, underneath the tops on these, they really wanted to create a superior instrument. You'll see, from what I understand, some of these that have been taken apart and looked, you'll see actual lathing marks on the braces. These tops were hand-tuned a little bit at a time. Guy go in there, take a little bit off, test it, take a little bit more off, until each one was just like perfectly voiced. Some of the other cool things, you'll see 30s, you always see the firestripe guards, you'll see those on like the LOOs and all that kind of stuff. Cool guard. The arrowhead inlays, I love. Really the only model that you'll see these on the acoustics. Of course, you got it up on the headstock as well as the inlaid script logo. Bound neck, open back tuners. They just hardly exist. Once you get into the war, 1941, once we get into that era, the banners, like we've been doing a lot of banner guitars, all the Rosewood stuff goes away. This model dropped. The SJ200s dropped. They just went back to mostly the mahogany guitars. Whatever sets of Rosewood they had left, like I said, they did do a couple Rosewood J45s. They did do a couple Rosewood Southern Jumbos as well. But man, the Rosewood Gibsons are rare. Guys who like Martins and hate Gibson acoustics like these. I think they're referred to as the Bone Crusher. It's really the greatest that Gibson ever did, especially for that era on a Rosewood back guitar. I love herringbone D28s. I love these equally as much. They really are fantastic instruments. This one does have small center seam happening, as well as a couple other deep things. I mean, it got played. I've seen these that look like they've been just absolutely dragged behind a bus, and they were still $40,000, $50,000. This one's in pretty good shape, all things considered. Really excited to go out to the couch. Let's go out to the couch. Let's tickle this son of a bitch. We'll bang on it real hard with a pick. See if it crushes any bones or breaks any iPhone speakers or shit like that. Let's go do it. Let's go to the couch. All right, we're out front. We have the 1938 Gibson Advanced Jumbo, original Sunburst finish with the Rosewood back and sides. Let's put it through the pace a little bit. We'll start with fingerstyle. We'll switch to a pick here in just a minute. All right, cool. Let's grab a flat pick. Let's really dig into this thing here. Let's see what happens when we let it have it here a little bit. There's a reason why people go nuts for these things, and there's a reason why they cost what they do. These things are about as good as Gibson ever did. Pre-war, from 1938, Gibson Advanced Jumbo. Got a Adirondack red spruce top. Who knows if it's Brazilian or Indian? Who cares? Thing sounds incredible. Arrowhead inlays on the fretboard. Rare as hen's teeth. This one's in really great shape. Man, this stuff is just, yeah, this is the good stuff, guys. If you don't know, now you know. This is the good stuff. There's your Flat Top Friday for this week. Follow me on Instagram at Mark Agnesi. Follow the store at Norman's Rare Guitars. And check this and the rest of these guitars out online while they last at normansrareguitars.com. We'll see you guys back here for one final episode of Guitar of the Day for the week. Spoiler alert. It's freaking Saturday. See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Peace.